So today is 7.5 notes, and we're learning how to graph parabolas, which I know you did in Algebra 1. You learned how to graph things of this nature, but I'm not sure if you ever saw the equation in this form. So we're going to learn what the K does, what the A does, and what the H does in order to create a parabola when you graph it. Here are the answers to 7.4 if you need them, but I'm back now, so hopefully I can help in class. Alrighty, again, we are graphing parabolas that are in the form y minus k equals a, and then parentheses x minus h, quantity squared. So here's the first parabola that we're going to be working with, this guy right here. So the first thing I like to do is identify what A is, what K is, what H is, okay? So A is the number in front of the parentheses, and if there's no number there, then that means there's a secret 1. And so A is 1, okay? The second thing is we have to identify the K. The K is what's connected to the Y, which is right here. But you'll notice in the formula it says Y minus K. And so here, if it says y plus 2, your k is actually going to be negative 2. It's the opposite, technically, of what you think it is. So if it's negative in the equation, it's positive when you pull it out. If it's positive in the equation, it's negative when you pull it out. Same with h. This says h minus, or x minus h, but this says x plus 3. And so that means h is actually negative 3. Okay? So my first question is my parabola going to be facing up, so something like this? Or is it going to be facing down? Is it upside down? And your A tells you that. If A is positive, so if this guy right here is positive, we're going to have a parabola that's facing up. If this guy right here is negative, you have a parabola that's facing down. So in our case, that one is positive, so our parabola is going to be facing up. It's going to be going up. Your vertex is actually made of your h and your k. And the vertex is the highest or lowest point of your parabola. So like that would be your vertex, that would be your vertex. And the vertex, like I said, is made of your h and k. And so h is connected to your x, and so h was what comes first. So my vertex is going to be negative 3, comma, and then the k, which is negative 2. It's connected to your y. So that's where my parabola is going to start. That's the lowest point of this particular parabola is negative 3, 2. Or negative 3, negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that point right there. Negative 3, negative 2. My vertex. The axis of symmetry is what divides a parabola. A parabola is always even, and so the axis of symmetry is what divides your parabola in half. And it's always a line. X is equal to, well, we know x is negative 3 from our vertex. So my axis of symmetry, and I always like to draw it with just like a dashed line. It's supposed to be dashed. It's hard to do this on here. A dashed line to represent that is, there, that's better, that this is my vertex. It's what's dividing my parabola in half. And then you just sketch the rest of your parabola. It doesn't have to be super exact at this point in time, but you just sketch both sides so you can see that it's up, that's your vertex. So this shows that it's up. This proves that that's your vertex, and then here is your axis of symmetry. Those are the 3 things that I want to see. Let's do one more just to make sure it makes sense. Again, A is the number in front of your parentheses, which this time is actually a negative 1, which means our parabola is going to be facing down. Our K is the number connected to Y, and so in this case it's negative 3, which means when I pull it out it's actually positive 3. And then here my H is a positive 1, which means when I pull it out it's a negative 1. So my vertex is negative 1, comma 3. So I'm going to go ahead and plot it. Negative 1 and then 3. So right there. That's my vertex. And then my axis of symmetry is x is equal to, and my x was negative 1, so x is equal to negative 1. Let's go ahead and draw my axis of symmetry. Okay. And it's going to be a parabola that's facing down, so then you draw your parabola facing down, like that. As symmetric as you can get it. Again, I'm just trying to make sure you understand what A, K, and H do. Our next one is we have to find an equation of the parabola that has this particular vertex, and it contains the point 2, -5. Okay? So what we can do is we know that our vertex is actually our H and our K. But remember, it's negative in one and positive in the other. So you could rewrite this equation right here as y, and it's not going to be minus -2, it's going to be +2, because it's negative in the point, so it's positive in the equation, is equal to, we don't know A, we don't know X, but we know H, if it's negative in the point, it's going to be positive in the equation. So that's how we can use the vertex to help us. We just did that. Well, we know it also contains this point, 2, -5. Well, every point's made up of an X and a Y. So what if we plugged -5 in for Y? We still don't know A, that's the thing we have to find, but then we can plug 2 in for X, and we can solve this equation for A. -5 plus 2 is -3. We still don't know A, but we know 2 plus 1 is 3. We still have that -3 is equal to A, but we know that 3 squared is 9. I wrote that weird, but if you just divide both sides by 9, you get -1/3 is equal to A. And so from there, you really can write the equation of this information with your vertex and your point. So we're going to use this guy that we started, because we know that's our vertex, and then we just solved A. So you're just going to rewrite this equation right here. Instead of A, you're going to write that -1/3. So you have y plus 2 is equal to -1/3 is my A, which means my parabola is upside down. And we have x plus 1 quantity squared. Ta-da! One more, just in case, make sure we understand. Again, this is our vertex, so that's what we're plugging in for H and K. So we have y, and it's not going to be -3, it's going to be +3. A is what we're solving for, and then x, it's not going to be a +2, it's going to be a -2 squared. So that helped us fill in our H and our K. It says our y-intercept is 9, which means that's secretly the point 0, 9. So that means we can plug x, or 0 in for x, and 9 in for y. So we have 9 plus 3 is equal to A, and then 0 minus 2 is equal, or quantity squared. This gives me 12 is equal to A, and then -2 squared. 12 is equal to, I'm going to write it better this time, -2 squared is 4A. Looks way better than the last example. And when you divide both sides by 4, you get that A is 3. So we know this parabola is going to be facing up. And I'm going to use the equation we already came up with, and instead of writing the letter A this time, I'm going to write 3. And I just found the equation of this parabola. I'll see you in class.